morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 4 on personal branding. My name is Gishure Rumu. We've been going through a series of personal branding, of which we want to make sure that all of us have a look at ourselves and brand ourselves differently in every day as we go on with our duties, and we just look to tell ourselves that the story that we are telling to the world is very different from what we have been telling before. Our topic today is on tell your story and tell it right. We're always telling our stories. Every day, either consciously or subconsciously, we're always telling somebody else about who we are, what we stand for, what we continuously would want the world to know about us. Therefore, there is a great need for us to make sure that we tell our stories right, in the right way. We should always tell the world and let the world know of what we ourselves are telling them and not what they are hearing from other places. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And we want to talk about how we can tell a story in a different way, in a better way than how we've been doing it before. So, as I said earlier, we always talk about ourselves, whether we do it consciously or subconsciously. And it's always good to sit back and think of what we are telling the world about ourselves, of who we are, or how our friends, our colleagues, people whom we do not know, think about us, and how that affects our life. Therefore, let's ask ourselves a few questions. And let's just think through it and just think about how we tell our story, especially when we do it unconsciously or without giving it much thought. Number one, we do tell our stories in interviews. When you're giving interviews, when you're looking for a job, there's always that question that is always asked. Tell us about yourself. Tell us who you are. We also tell our stories in talk shows for the celebrities, in church gatherings, for example, when you're preaching, in normal media interviews. We always tell our stories. We also tell our stories in normal conversations that we have with other people. If you're having a conversation with your friend, you're always telling a story about yourself. Whether you're aware that you're telling that story or you're not aware of telling the story, but people perceive it, and what they hear from you, it is something that they associate with you. We also tell our stories in scheduled meetings. For example, when you're having coffee dates with people whom you have just met or people you're just meeting. For example, when you're dating somebody and you're meeting them for the first time, you always find yourself telling a story about yourself. But more so, we also tell our stories in social media, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, in very many of these new social media platforms that are around. We're always telling our stories. And finally, we also tell our stories in our curriculum vitae, written things, in our biographies. We tell our stories in these many ways. Therefore, it is important for us to sit back, or for you to sit back and think about the story you want to tell to the world and who you want the people to know you as. So, especially when you're doing it subconsciously, most of the time is because we don't think about what we are saying, how we are saying it, what we are writing, and how we are writing it. So today let us discuss how or why we should tell our story right, and the reasons why we should take time and deliberately and consciously write down our stories, and practice telling it right. Number one, the most important reason why you should tell your story right, it's because it makes you get time to know yourself and understand who you are. Majority of the people whom you know, they do not know who they are. They don't understand who they are. I want to give you a task. Randomly ask your friend this question, for example. Jack, tell me who you are. Or put the name of your friend there instead of Jack. Tell me who you are. You're probably going to get some mumbling. I am Jack. I do this 1, 2, 3, 4, and more often than not, you get a half-baked answers. If you get an answer in the first place, most of the time you will just be met with a blank stare. They're just looking at you and they're wondering, what do I tell you? Who I am? Who am I? They don't know what to say. Now, take time individually today, for example, and ask yourself some critical questions. For example, who am I? Who is so and so? Who is Nelson? Who is Gishure? Ask yourself, put your name there. Who am I? Number 2, what am I good at? Okay? What am I not good at? What is my motivation in life? What do I want to achieve in life? How would I want the world to see me, or to know me, or to understand me? And finally, ask yourself another question. How have I been telling my story? When you ask yourself these questions, you'll be able to get the point that you're talking about, understanding yourself and knowing yourself. Because you can't tell your story if you don't know yourself. You need to know yourself. Lazima ujijue ndio uweze kuambia watu wengine story yako, so that you're not picking stories from the internet and telling people that those are your stories. No. It shouldn't be like that. Number 2, always understand that nobody knows you, including your family members, prior to you opening your mouth to have a conversation with them. Nobody knows you. It is when you sit down to talk to them and when you interact with them, that is when they get to know you. In fact, I dare say that you are the one who informs the world of who you are, what you stand for, what you are all about, etc. Nobody else, it is you, individually. This you do consciously or subconsciously. You do directly or indirectly. So how do you do this? Number 1, through interviews. This is consciously. You tell the question that is always in every interview you ever go. Tell us about yourself. Through normal conversations with friends and foes. Through social media posts that you post every day. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. The profiles that you put in this social media. Replies you do to the posts. Who you follow, what you follow. The uploads, your photo uploads that you put on social media, they tell us who you are. On CVs, you see those personal statements that we always put on your CV. Always take time to think about what you're writing there. Don't pick them from the internet because you've seen a sample somewhere and you picked it, then you just want to paste it on your CV. It may not depict who you are. And then the other way that you also tell us or tell the world who you are, or you tell us who you are, is through the reactions to situations that face you. How you react to conductors, house helps, people you do not know, like the ones who accidentally step on you. Tells us your story, it tells us of who you are, how you react to such people and situations that are around you, how you act when you are under pressure, for example, financial distress, relationships that have gone wrong, you've been left, you've been dropped, loss of jobs, etc. How you react, that will tell us of who you are. So you have to be conscious of how you're reacting and how you're telling, on how you are acting towards situations that are around your life. What you tell the world is determined by what is in your heart, what is in your subconscious, what is in your inner self. So this is a critical moment that you should always try to understand ourselves better as our point number 1, so that we are able to tell the world authentically who we are. Matthew chapter 12 verses 34 tells us, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. In fact, I came another one, Luke chapter 6 verses 45, it says, a good man brings, and I'm quoting directly, A good man brings good things out of the good stored in their heart. And an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in the heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. This means you have to find yourself and find your story. And if what the story that you are finding yourself in is not what you like the world to know about you on, please change it. But to change it, you have to look from the inside. Change it from the inside, from your heart on outwards, from inside out. From the inside out. Change it. Take time to do that so that you tell the right story and you tell it the right way. Number 3, people tend to always trust what you tell them about yourself. In fact, people will give you business based on what you say you are, on who you say you are. Sorry for that. On who you say you are. That is why it is absolutely paramount for you to keep your word. When you say you're going to do something, do it. You know, you always hear sentiments such as, you said you will. Even your children are the ones who are going to tell you this. The day of mommy, you said 1, 2, 3. You said you had, or you said you promised to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is absolutely important, whatever you are telling the world, to be very authentic. Very authentic. And don't promise something that you cannot deliver. Always keep your promises. Because people will give you business based on your story. The story you give outside there. What you tell them about yourself. In the ways you are discussed out there. Your reputation. What you've managed to create over time. The people that know your story, they're the ones who are going to influence business in one way or the other. Now, it is important then to ask yourself, do you even know what your story is all about? Or what kind of story have I been putting out there for the people to consume? You know, this actually forms a very critical pillar to personal branding, because personal branding is all about telling the people your story. It could be in business, it could be in employment, you could be in sales, you could be with whatever else that you do. But always remember, every time you are out there, you're speaking to somebody, every time you are writing something on social media, on print media, every time you are reacting to a situation, you're telling your story. I hope this will help us to understand that we should be careful of the story we put out there. It has a way of appearing when we don't need it to appear, especially if it's a bad story. It has a way of appearing. You know, they always say that the internet never forgets. And this is affecting even our politicians right now, because they were not conscious of the story they are telling outside there. And it's affecting us because you're not conscious of the story we are telling out there. Let us be very careful of the story we are telling out there. It will form your personal brand. Thank you very much. My name is Gishure Irungu. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Kindly share this message. Go to the YouTube, my YouTube channel, and subscribe. And have a lovely day ahead. May God bless you. Bye.